Welcome to the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. I am the Queen of Pep Talks, Jessica Battle, founder and CEO of the Join Jessica XO brand, where I coach, speak, and influence women to improve their mindsets so they can become happier, healthier, and more successful than ever before. I am obsessed with helping women create the unwavering ability to believe in themselves in order to achieve a life beyond their wildest dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a series of pep talks that will encourage you to break through your own limiting beliefs and help you develop the mindset that will allow you to show up in your life to the best of your ability. If you are looking to lose your own bullshit excuses, get out of your own way, and grow into your infinite potential, well then, you're in the right place. Are you with me? Let's dive in. Hello, my love, and welcome back to another episode of the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. Happy Wednesday. I hope that you are having the most fantastic day of your whole entire life. I am very excited for today's Join Jessica episode, where I am having a conversation with my incredible client, Steph Trovato. She is a copywriter, and she is just so incredible. She is very different than a lot of my clients. She already has a successful business, and she came to me because she was struggling with her mindset. Oh my gosh, yes, because I know it may surprise you. I don't know how many times I have to say it and how many pieces of evidence I need to bring to you in order for you to deeply believe creating more success in your life does not make you a happier person. Steph reached out to me because she was really struggling with feeling good in her life, even though she had all of the success. She has an amazing family. She built an incredible business. And when we started working together, things started shifting for her so quickly. She was acknowledging herself. She was feeling happier than ever. She was able to disconnect from her business in an even more powerful way. She was celebrating and acknowledging herself and all of the hard work that she puts in. It's very easy for women when they are driven and desire to be successful and very growth oriented. It is so easy for us, and I say us because I have very oftentimes found myself in this position. It's so easy for us to overlook what we are doing because we're thinking about what's next. We're overlooking accomplishments that we've achieved because we're just thinking forward and what's coming in the future. And while that's incredible and it does keep us driven, it can often hold us back from feeling the way that we desire to feel in our lives because we're not taking the time to acknowledge ourselves and celebrate ourselves. Steph and I have talked about literally everything inside of our private coaching. She is such an incredible human. But one of the things that made me the most excited is when we were talking about her business and her dreams for the future, we were talking about the need for copywriting coaches in the coaching industry. How many of you are coaches and struggle with your copy or overthink what it is you want to say or worry about being authentic or feel that you don't know your brand voice or don't know how to say what you want to say in a way that's effective? And when we started talking about this, I was telling her there's probably an incredible space for you if you're looking to build a new kind of pillar in your business. There's probably a really incredible space for you in the coaching industry. And she was like, no, I would never do that. Nope. And then like 2 days later, she reached out and she was like, so I've been thinking about our conversation. And now she is working on building her personal brand as the tough love copy coach. And that just makes me so excited for her because this is the power of coaching. A coach can see blind spots for you. A coach can see opportunities for you to be successful where you may not be seeing them. A coach is a person who you get to dream bigger with when it feels like no one else in your world understands. If you are an entrepreneur or a coach, unless you have a coach or other friends who are coaches or entrepreneurs who you talk to all of the time, you may very often find yourself lonely in what it is that you do because no one else relates to what you're going through. No one else relates to handling, running a business, showing up for your business when hard things in life are happening. This is something that Steph and I have talked about many times during our coaching together. There's no one to dream bigger with because no one who you love or talk to on a daily basis understands what it is you're working towards. And it's just so powerful to have a space where you get to come and have conversations that you wouldn't have otherwise. That is what I just love and adore about coaching, is the opportunity to have conversations that most people are not having. And that's what Steph and I have done over the last several months together. And I just adore working with her so much. Inside of this conversation, we talk about so many different things in terms of why she came to work with me and the changes that she's seen in her life during our work together. I also, for you guys, asked her a couple of questions about copywriting, because I know that there are many women in my audience who are entrepreneurs and coaches who are desiring to improve their copy. Steph is actually coming into the Total Package Mastermind this quarter to talk to my clients about how to improve their copy, how to be authentic, how to stop overthinking, how to get their mind behind what it is that they want to say, how to understand and uncover their brand voice, how to think about how they want people in their audience to feel, how to better convert their audience into paying clients. I'm very excited for her to share all of that inside of the Total Package Mastermind. But inside of this episode, she does give you a little bit of that juice. So I hope that you enjoy that. Her story is so powerful. She started her business literally just hoping to make enough money to pay for daycare. And now she is making $300,000+ per year. Absolutely insane. She is so driven, so motivated. I admire her so much. And I'm just so grateful to be a coach and a mentor to her. And I'm so happy to share this conversation with you guys. I know that you are going to enjoy it. Before we jump into that, I want to talk about 3 upcoming coaching opportunities that I have if you're desiring to come closer into my world and learn from me in any capacity. The first thing we have is Podcasting with the Queen. First, I want to say, if you're registered for Podcasting with the Queen, please make sure that you check your emails. We have officially scheduled the kickoff for Podcasting with the Queen. We are going to begin on Monday, February 27th at 5:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This course is literally going to be so good. I am going to teach you everything that I know about creating a successful AF podcast. We're here over 250 episodes in. I'm recording 5 episodes a week. We are right near 350,000 downloads. I have started collaborating and marketing the podcast in such a powerful way. It's just so juicy over here. And this podcast has been so beneficial for my business and for my brand. Inside of this course, I'm going to teach you literally everything. We're going to talk about, before you even begin your podcast, why a podcast is beneficial for your brand, trusting your voice, dealing with feelings of imposter syndrome. And we're going to talk about the mindset behind being consistent if you're adding podcasting onto already feeling like you have a million things on your plate. It's so beneficial to start a podcast, but of course you want to make sure that you're being consistent with your podcast. So before we even dive into like the how-tos, we're going to cover all of the mindset and why this is beneficial for your brand in having a podcast. We're going to talk all things getting started. So picking a name, creating branding, hosting, equipment, podcast description, music, intros, outros, show notes, editing, publishing on different platforms. I'm going to take you through everything that you need to know about getting started. We're going to cover launching your podcast. So creating hype, potentially doing giveaways, marketing your podcast for your audience. We're going to talk about growing your podcast, collaborating, how to find guests, preparing for interviews, interview systems so you're not constantly doing things manually, how to record interviews, asking for ratings and reviews, incentives, outsourcing. We're going to cover all things growing your podcast. It's going to be very, very exciting. And then we're also going to cover some things beyond the podcast. So we're going to talk about creating a podcast subscription and how you can use private podcast feeds inside of your courses. I'm not kidding you guys. I'm giving you everything that I know about podcasting inside of this course. And I've had the podcast for over 3 years. So let's just say I know quite a bit about podcasting and creating a very successful podcast. And I'm going to teach you how to do that inside of this course. There are also going to be a lot of opportunities for personalized coaching and support inside of Podcasting with the Queen. We're going to have a running Q&A. You're going to get an opportunity to continue to ask questions as you are implementing the things that you are learning inside of the course. And as per usual, of course, a workbook that will help you with reflections and implementation after you've done the trainings inside of the course. You can send me a DM if you desire to join that. We're currently in early bird pricing, and there's going to be one more price jump the week of the 20th. So if you're desiring to save money, I would suggest jumping into the course now. I'm so excited for everyone who is already registered. And as I mentioned, if you are already registered, please make sure you check your email. If you don't see an email from me, please reach out on Instagram or send me an email at hello@joinjessicaxo.com. Okay. The next thing thing that I want to talk to you guys about is JJXO Unfiltered Radio. I am so excited for this, and this is an offer that many people may not understand, but if you really appreciate coaching and behind the scenes of what it takes to achieve massive success, then this is an ideal place for you to come to be in my world. I'm going to be sharing the behind the scenes of what it looks like to navigate creating this kind of success in my life. So I'll be talking about in real time things that are coming up for me and as I am going through them. So a couple of things recently that have come up for me is, how do you prioritize family and your own self-care needs while you're in a really busy season of business? This is something that I would talk to you guys about behind the scenes in JJXO Unfiltered Radio. Another thing that has recently come up for me is navigating through a lot of feelings of imposter syndrome, to the point that I was like questioning myself and considering quitting the course that I'm on. Not really, but those are the thoughts that come to mind, how I process through that and continue to move forward. Also, dealing with feelings of overwhelm. This is something that I was going through last week. If I was going through this and JJXO Unfiltered Radio was open, I would be coming in and sharing with you guys like, hey, I'm going through massive feelings of overwhelm right now. This is what I'm doing to navigate through it. And here's how you can do the same. Other things that I've dealt with recently that I would share inside of JJXO Unfiltered Radio. I recently got a lot of hate on social media. If you listened to Monday's episode, you know what I'm talking about. I would come in real time as I am processing through that and share with you guys, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what's coming up for me. This is what happened. Here's how I'm navigating through it. And here's how you can do the same. This is literally an unfiltered behind the scenes look at what it takes to create massive success. And we're also doing a once a month Q&A. So every month you will have an opportunity to ask questions, leave them on a feed. I will come into Voxer and give you the personalized coaching and support that you are desiring. This is a 3-month commitment, and the investment is literally a no-brainer for personalized support, $555 for you to jump into JJXO Unfiltered Radio. Okay. Also, just a reminder, there are a lot of you in my audience who have tuition outstanding that you can use towards this. If you were a part of the Love Exercise Bootcamp, many of you have not used your tuition towards upcoming things. Just a reminder that that tuition is only good through this year. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about upcoming opportunities to work with me. Okay. Tuition that you have earned can be used towards anything that is equal or higher value, courses only. So no masterminds and no private coaching. Okay. And the final thing that I want to talk to you guys about is I have decided to open up a few spaces for private coaching clients. If you know, in my world, this is not something that I do very often. I am opening up a handful of spots for Voxer only coaching. You might be like, well, I don't want to do coaching if there are no calls included. Let me tell you that Voxer only coaching is equally, if not more powerful than scheduled calls every week, because you literally have a nonstop opportunity to plugging into support from me. And it is a more accessible investment for you. It's also easier on my calendar. And as we know, I am in a time right now in my business where I'm not in a position where I want to be putting more calls on my calendar. That doesn't mean that you will not get the same level of support from me. You will get so much support from me. Ask any client who has been in Voxer with me what it's like, and they will tell you in a 2-minute voice note, I can literally blow your mind and change your life. So if you're a woman who is seeking high level support where you get to plug in one-on-one with me on a daily basis, this would be an opportunity for you to do so. I'm opening up spots for as little as a 1-month commitment all the way up to a 3-month commitment. There are perks when you invest for a longer period of time. If you're interested in private coaching and you're really wanting support in building and growing and scaling your coaching business this year, or maybe you're a woman who already has a successful business, but much like Stephanie, you're still struggling with some of the mindset and really feeling good in your life. Maybe you're struggling with prioritizing. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed on a daily basis. Maybe you're struggling with systems and wanting to get things in place behind the scenes so that you can be more hands off in your business. All things that I can help you with. I am the queen of obviously building a very successful business. I am incredible at launching and selling. I am great at program development. I am incredible at creating a powerful client journey for your clients. I have an amazing brand. I have an incredible podcast, all things that you get access to when you come into private coaching with me. It is access to my brain, my support, my friendship, my love, and my care for you deeply as a human. I love my clients so much. If you know, you know. Okay. So those are the 3 opportunities that I want to share with you on today's episode: Podcasting with the Queen, JJXO Unfiltered Radio, and private coaching via Voxer support. If any of those speak to you, you can check the show notes for links to any of those opportunities. Private coaching, you do need to send me a message so we can have a conversation about that. Okay. I love you guys so much. I hope that you enjoy this conversation. If you desire to connect with Steph, you can head over to her website, which is toughlovecopy.com. Reach out to her and she will be a support to you. She's such an incredible human, so smart, so driven, so motivated, so successful. Steph, if you're listening, I just love and adore you to absolute pieces. Thank you for sharing this conversation with me. I hope that you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you on the next episode of the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. See ya. All right, you guys, on today's episode of the Queen of Pep Talks podcast, we have my beautiful and loving client, Steph Trovato. Steph, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I know that this conversation, as I was saying to Steph before we started recording, I know this conversation is going to be really empowering for the women in my audience. Steph is very different than a large majority of my clients. She actually has a copywriting business of her own. Might I add, a very successful copywriting business. And I'm going to ask you in a minute to just brag on yourself and tell people what you do. But Steph came to me really wanting to improve her mindset around the way that she felt in her life and her business. And today she's going to be sharing her experience working with me, and also talking about how she is shifting in her business and providing some value for you in terms of how you can potentially improve your copy as you're working to really connect with your ideal client and your audience when you're showing up on social media and email marketing and wherever else it is that you're providing copy for your business. So Steph, why don't you introduce yourself, share who you are and what you do. Brag, please, a little bit about your business, because I know this is something that when you came to me, you struggled with. So I want to hear you just like brag about yourself and what you have created in your business, because it's truly mind-blowing.
Thank you very much. So I am Steph. I am a mom and a wife, and I live in New York. And I started my business to pay for daycare because it's expensive. And I thought it was just going to be this little thing. It had a goal of $35K, which was plenty to pay for school. And then COVID happened and it just took off. And I was furloughed at the time. So I had nothing else to do but entertain my child and start my business. And from there, it grew rapidly and unexpectedly. And I'm now in year 3, and I hit 300K at the end of last year, which is like insanity to me. And when I tell you, like, I still have no grasp of like what that number means, because like it's just a big number, but I know what it means because of like all the work that went into it, not just because of like the money that I made. So now I am here because I needed help, because it doesn't matter how much money you make. If your mindset is not right, then you just feel stressed anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Our journeys, I don't think that I knew that about you, that you started your business to pay for daycare. I actually started my business when I started, shortly after I started my debt-free journey. I just wanted to supplement my income while I was working 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week at the law firm. I was picking up overtime there, but I also, of course, I wanted to make an impact. I was doing that for free for years, but my mind was like, oh, well, if I'm already doing this, how can I potentially get paid to get out of the $65,000 in debt that I was in more quickly? And I didn't realize how much I was going to, number one, love my business once I started it and love the work that I was doing in my business. But also I had no idea how financially successful I actually could be in my business. When you started your copywriting business, did you think like, oh yeah, in a couple of years, I'll be making multiple 6 figures per year?
No, I was like, I made 150 for an article, and I was like, oh my God, I can make like $700 in a month. Like that's a lot of money. Like ridiculous, because that's not a lot of money, but it was at the time. But it would have paid for daycare because I was waitressing on the side of my full-time job to pay for it. And I was tired of like missing nights, especially because when you have a baby, that's witching hour. And my husband was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about, I know because we work together, but can you share with my audience a little bit about kind of what really led you to, we had worked together before. You were in, I think it was Integration Keys, the course that I ran. You took that, I think it was early last year. I'm not sure. It might have been
Yep.
end of 2021. And then you reached out to me to help connect me with one of your girlfriends who was looking for a course, and she joined one of my courses. Can you talk about what you were feeling when you reached out to me? It's been a couple of months now. When you reached out to me and you were like, I'm really thinking that I want support around where I'm at in my life and my business. What were you feeling and experiencing that was really signaling to you that you should be supported in your life and your business?
Yeah, so I've been following you forever. So I've seen your growth and like how much you've embraced your mindset and just like being a boss and like being who you are. And I've always admired that, but it felt like very far-fetched for me. And as my business got bigger, it was great and like it was fun, but I always felt either burnt out or like I had no balance and I had no idea like how to celebrate myself. Like I could say, "Oh, yeah, I did this. Like I hit this milestone," but I'd always be too busy and just be like, "Oh, anyways, I'm going to go do something else now." And I didn't know how to share my success either. Like I have my husband, he's great and he's supportive, but like he doesn't know like what it means to have your own business and like how he sees me work, but he doesn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no one to like celebrate with. And so I just kind of discarded them, like all of my wins. And I started to feel like, what am I supposed to strive for if like nothing is motivating me to like feel excited? Like if these milestones are not exciting anymore, then like what will be? Like what am I doing? Why am I in business? Like I like what I do, but I want to feel better like on the daily basis because I didn't. I just it started to feel like a job, not like my business. And I also had a really hard time balancing, like letting go, like taking a vacation, but like not stressing the F out beforehand and after.
Mm-hmm.
Like really learning like what feels good for me. I didn't know that. Like I didn't give myself enough time to pay attention to like my cues, which are there, but if you don't look for them, you just ignore them. And then you're like, why do I feel so crappy?
Yeah. You get in the habit of just overriding what it is that you really need because you're not tuned into it. And I think this is a really important conversation because I think a lot of people out there believe that when you become successful in a business or financially or in other areas of your life, that means you're immediately going to be in a good place mentally and in your mindset and in the relationship that you have with yourself. And it's really not true, right? Because you were giving so much intention to the how and what you were doing to build your business and become successful and make the money, but you were just completely disregarding the human that you were that was like doing all of the work to actually build your business, taking no time to acknowledge yourself, celebrate yourself, check in with what it is that you really needed beyond like the routines that you have created for yourself day to day. And it's so easy to get in the habit of just like overlooking our needs. And high achieving women like you and I, how easy is it to achieve something and be like, oh, okay, what's next? I know that we talk about that all of the time. It's like we always want to be achieving more, which is incredible, but it's really easy to get caught in like the rat race of just chasing the outward success and never celebrating internally that we never actually feel fulfilled in what it is that we're doing because we're not even taking the time to acknowledge it.
Right, exactly. Like that cliche of like money can't buy you happiness. Like
Mhm.
yes, it will get rid of some of your stress. We've talked about this, but it doesn't make you happy. You're not like, "Okay, I made this much money now. Like now I must feel good," because you number one, you're still working, like you're still doing it all. And if you don't give yourself any time to enjoy any of it or even pay attention to what that milestone or that money makes you feel like, then you're just wasting your time. Like because all you're doing is burning yourself out and then you start to lash out on others, like, you know, your loved ones, because you're too busy being stressed out that you're like, don't you see how hard I'm working? Like, I'm making all this money for our family, but like, so what? They don't want you to be like that either.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that it's so easy for us to overlook how hard we're working, especially when the people around us don't necessarily understand the work and the pressure that can come with having your own business, especially when it's a business that you run online. I think there have been times where I have felt like Chris, my husband, thinks I sit at home and twiddle my fucking thumbs all day. And I'm like, you know that I'm actually working like really hard just because you don't get it. And for you, it's like showing up on social media is just posting on social media. It's not work, but it actually is. Can you talk about what it's felt like for you in terms of transitioning from working from someone else to having your own business, some of the pressures that have come along with that for you that I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs give a lot of attention to, like the burnout and feeling like it's so hard to turn off and feeling like the boundaries around work aren't really clear and you're constantly connected to doing what you're doing. And you can feel even guilt for taking time off and stepping away from your business.
Yeah, it's so true. Like it makes me laugh when you say that about Chris because I to this day I still get it. Like my mother-in-law is infamous for like, "Oh, can't Stephanie do it? She's home." Like I'm not home. Like just pretend I'm not home because I'm working. Like everyone else is at a job. So like people don't get it. But like I'm doing the same thing. I'm just in a room in my home.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts. I would say it took me a long time to learn about boundaries, and I never even really like thought about that word probably until like right before I started working with you. And I was like, what are my boundaries? And I started paying more attention to the fact that like I didn't have any because I would be not like quote unquote working, like I wasn't writing a blog or writing something or doing something like that, but I was always answering. And I learned that there are literally no fires in the type of business I do. None. Nothing is going to happen. I don't run, a Fortune 500 company. Like they will be fine if they
Yeah.
wait until tomorrow. But I used to feel like I had to answer. I had to be there. What if I didn't answer? And I'm also someone who can't stand to see the notifications. So if I saw them, I had to look at them. So I have since learned to snooze the crap out of all my notifications.
Yep.
But knowing to do that is hard because there's the problem when you have your own business is the sky is the limit, which is great, but the sky is the limit. So like where do you stop? Where is enough? Where is like, okay, this is like a good threshold for me. I don't because you can always make more, you can always be doing more, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean you'll feel any better or do any better. So
Mhm.
knowing like that balance of where you need to stop for your own mental health and like to still be present in the rest of your life is something that I feel like nobody talks about. Like it's
Yep.
just like, oh, cool, you're your own boss. Like, yeah, great, but also all the pressure is on you. Like, so my thing is always like, great, I can make all this money online. I'll always be able to find clients. There's always some company I can write for, but I always have to be doing that because, like, what if, like, I don't
Mhm.
have sick days, I don't have PTO, I don't have all these benefits, like,
Yep.
it's just me. So I try not to like think about it in a negative way because it's empowering. Like when you think about it, like, fuck yeah, like I do all of this.
Mhm.
But it's also like, oh, I need to do this for like the next 15 years. Like, oh, it's just me.
It is so empowering that it's you and you've created this. But if you take a step back and you realize, like, oh, it is just me, I've created this, which means all of the work and the achievement is up to me to show up, which can create like a negative feeling around turning off and disconnecting. I was just reflecting on that this morning. And I think it's something we've talked about. Like, nothing is actually an emergency in our businesses, but because we're always connected and everything comes right to our phone. The emails are there, the social media is there, the DMs are there. Everyone that needs to contact us has 24/7 access to us. It's not like we leave an office and the email is like at the office and then we don't have to check in until 9 a.m. the next day. Everything is constantly accessible. And when you feel the pressure of like, this is my job to create this, it's so easy to feel like if I don't respond right away, someone is going to be mad or I'm going to let someone down. Or what if they decide that they no longer want to work with me if I don't respond within 15 minutes? And it's like, we have to give ourselves that grace and compassion to know that everything in our businesses can wait. Like it can wait 15 minutes, it can wait an hour, it can wait until tomorrow, and it's going to be okay. But it's our job to be okay with that. It's not the person on the other end that's even pressuring us to hurry up and respond. It's our own internal cues that are like, oh, you better hurry up and respond to this because all of this pressure is on your shoulders. And if you don't do it, what might happen?
It's so true. Exactly. Like they're not saying like you need to answer me right now. Like they just think, okay, like when you send like a Slack message or like a text like after hours or like they'll answer me tomorrow. They're not like, oh, I didn't want you to answer me now.
Yeah.
But I feel like unless you set those boundaries, like I've learned to be much more clear with clients and give them a heads up. And I didn't take a full vacation, as you want to call it, and like not bring my work laptop until this past August.
Mm-hmm.
I always brought it because I was like, what if I need to do something? Why? Why can't I take a vacation? And so this past August, I told all my clients, I put up an away message, I deleted everything off my phone so that I wouldn't even be tempted. And I went to LBI in Jersey with my whole family for a week. And it felt so good, like to just not use my brain, like to not be on because the hard part is you don't realize how much you're on. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't ever relax when you own a business, especially a digital one, because you're always, no matter what you see, even if you're just scrolling Instagram, your mind is going. Like you're just always thinking. So
Yes.
it feels so good to just lock it all away. Like my advice is go on a cruise and pretend that you don't have Wi-Fi and turn your phone off and just
Absolutely.
leave it for a week.
Yeah, because never disconnecting and never turning off is such a fast path to burnout. And
Hmm.
when you reach a place of burnout, you're not going to be able to physically or emotionally handle anything. So you're going to end up backtracking, and that feels really terrible. So it's learning, like you were saying, what are my boundaries and how can I make sure that because I'm the one that's responsible for disconnecting. No one else needs to hold me to that standard, but I need to hold myself to that standard. And I know that we've talked about this, but like really reframing the way that we feel about resting and turning off and disconnecting and seeing it as something that is really beneficial, not just for our businesses in terms of our creativity and our ability to show up, but for our own mental health. And that's something that I care so much about, is making sure that the person behind their business feels really, really good. And I know that I'm not an expert in what you do. So I haven't been, up until like around this point, and we'll talk about this in a minute, what you've been doing, but I've really been supporting you, the human behind your successful business, and making sure that your mind is in a place where you feel really proud of what you're accomplishing. You're able to acknowledge that, you're able to communicate that with other people, you're able to have the boundaries and enforce them and disconnect and rest without feeling bad about it, because you can be as successful as you want to be while being on 24/7, but you're going to reach a place where you feel like shit. And it doesn't feel like, what's the point of any of the success if you don't feel good in your business?
Yeah, and like what's the point of having your own business if you're basically just being an order taker because you're
Mhm.
you're just responding to everyone else instead of yourself. Like until I started working with you, I never gave myself enough time to pay attention to like, you know what? I feel shitty today. Like I would be like, "Oh, I feel like crap today," but continue to sit there and like try to work, which was such a waste of time. And I remember I messaged you the first time and I was like, I'm just going to sit on the couch instead because I don't feel good. So why am I even beating myself up? And it felt so good. Like it was something so simple, but it felt so good to just acknowledge that and be like, it's okay. Like,
Mhm.
because I personally have such a tendency to like guilt myself, which I'm sure many of us do.
Yep.
So like guilting myself, like I should be working right now. Like why? Who said? Like getting out of that mind frame of like you should be working because it's 9 to 5 and you should be working because you should be working every day. Like why? Who said?
Yep.
Like
I think that
nobody told us that.
yeah, I think that we forget that one of the reasons that we got into business for ourselves and we're willing to take on all of the pressure that comes with that is because we get to create schedules that we like. Like we were talking about before we
Yeah.
started recording, when this call is over, I'm immediately going down to my couch and like chilling for an hour before I get back to work from the couch. And how incredible is that, that we have that time flexibility and that freedom. But why would we do this to ourselves to not even take advantage of the perks that we have available? You know, it's like the pressure that comes with it, yes, it's there, but at the same time, we can learn to manage it, and we can learn to lessen that pressure through the way that we force ourselves sometimes to show up and disconnect, because we want to be able to take advantage of what we've worked so hard to build for ourselves. And a lot of entrepreneurs are not doing that because they're so stuck in not feeling worthy unless they're being productive, feeling like they're never doing enough, shooting themselves constantly, and feeling like they need to be doing more in order to feel good. And I think that's just a really toxic kind of path to lead yourself down, because it's never going to be enough and you're going to be hustling 24/7 and still feeling like shit internally.
Yeah, like there's no finish line when you own your own business. And like similar to the conversation that's constantly going on in corporate America and like remote work and how it's giving everyone more of a work-life balance, and like employees are saying that they want more time at home so that they feel better mentally. Like use that same mentality. Like if that's becoming such a big conversation like in corporate America, it should be the same conversation for entrepreneurship, and it's not, because it's such a hustle culture, because I feel like so many businesses started as like, you know, a side hustle or some kind of passive income. So like you must have to continue the hustle. Like why? You don't have to. It should be whatever you want it to be, but that is like I think the biggest hurdle of owning your own business.
Yeah. Well, I think especially now in the day and age that we live in with social media, it's so easy to get caught in the trap of comparison, where it's like other people are doing and achieving more. So you think in order to like live up to what you're supposed to be, you need to be keeping up with other people. And we lose sight of, oh, so many of my clients go through this. And I even went through this in 2021. I had lost sight of what success really meant to me. And I was chasing things that didn't even mean anything to me, but I thought because other coaches in the industry were achieving them, I was supposed to too. And it put me into such a negative head place where I felt like I'm going to live the rest of my life chasing something, and I'm missing out on what I have built that's right here, right now. And how how heartbreaking is that to like work so hard for something and not even be willing to acknowledge what you've created because you think it's not enough in comparison to what someone else has done.
Right. And you're comparing your entire day to someone's 10 seconds on social
Mhm.
media. Like, that's what I feel like everybody forgets, even when they create social media. Like, you are only showing a glimpse. And most of the time, those things are pre recorded or they are scheduled. So, like, that doesn't mean that's how they feel right now. Like, they're probably on their couch feeling like shit because there's germs everywhere.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up.
100%. Can we talk a little bit about which this makes me so excited? So you've just committed to working with me for like another, I guess, 2 months at this point, and you have decided that you are going to start to not pivot in your business, but add on kind of a new branch or pillar in your business where you're going to be working with entrepreneurs and coaches, right, in the online space around improving their copy for their own audiences. Can you talk a little bit about what it feels like? I've never even asked you this question, and I didn't let you know I was going to ask this because I didn't know. What does it feel like to be successful in one area in your business and feel like, okay, I'm ready to add something on? This is what's next. What does that feel like for you as you're contemplating, like, kind of starting from scratch again, sort of in a new area in your business? What does that feel like?
It's so many different emotions. So it's exciting because it's something new and like I'm a new shiny object like kind of person. But it's scary because when I got into copywriting, like I knew what I was doing. I went to school for marketing. I was always a writer and my full-time job was marketing. So it wasn't like such a far reach. And even this is like not a far reach in what I will speak on, but I've never like felt like someone who had something important enough to say that I would like be helping people. And so that is so different for me. And also I started my business during COVID. So everything was so reactive. It was always like, okay, well, what do I do now? Is the world ending now? And then maybe I'll try this now. So like I feel like it's exciting and like kind of like breathtaking in a way to be like, oh my God, I can like sit back and like breathe and do this slowly because I'm confident in my copywriting business. So I have, and I know this is like, I'm very lucky to have this, but I have the time and like the motivation and the passion, and I don't need to rely on it financially. So
Mhm.
I can put my heart and soul into it in a totally different way where when I started my business, it was very hustle, hustle, hustle. And this is such a different approach that it's like, so it makes it more exciting to start it.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you because obviously, as a coach, I see and I work with coaches, I see the need for this so desperately. I remember our conversation in Boxer where we were talking about you like dreaming bigger for your life and your business. And it's just so fun to see how you have grown in your willingness to like, because when we first started this conversation, you're like, no, I would never do that. Like, I would never do that. And then like a week later, you're like, well, I gave it some more thought. And like, I never really realized how I was blocking myself from dreaming beyond what's like right here, right now. And I think that it's really easy for us to do that because we're so caught up in the hustle of building what we're building. But now things have really stabilized for you. You know what you're doing in your business. You feel really comfortable in that. And now it gets to be an opportunity for like, what's next? Because there's always an opportunity for more impact, more wealth within your business, and more fulfillment for you and finding different avenues to feel really good in the work that you're doing.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Like I never had the time or like even the thought to dream big because if you asked me 3 years ago if I would own my own business, I would tell you no way. Like because I always thought owning your own business would turn into like, the typical like that you have employees, and I never wanted that. Like I don't want to be responsible for someone else's financial life. Like that it would kill me if anything bad happened. So I never ever thought. Plus I was like, who wants that headache? Meanwhile, like it's not a headache. There's so many perks, but you don't hear about that unless it's someone who makes $1 million or $2 million and they're like, oh, I'm living a great life. But like you can make $50,000 and live a great life because you have the flexibility. Maybe you're like a mom at home and you just want to make some money and you're home with 3 kids. You can still do that. You can still contribute. Like there's so many different levels of it. So when you first brought it up to me, I was so one-sided because in my world, there's a lot of copywriters that help copywriters, like a lot of courses about like how to write copy for a copywriter or like how to have a freelance business. Like, and I was like, I don't want to be like everybody else because I just feel like it's very flooded on that side. And I never thought about like your world because I'm not in your world, like to that, oh, like everybody else needs help writing copy, like the same people that hire me, like they need the motivation behind it, because anyone can write and everyone has something important to say, but so many people are afraid to say it, or they don't know how to say it, or they think they don't add value when they do. And like it's so, I didn't realize how important it was until you were like, yes, like I hear this all the time, like people need help because they don't trust themselves, and like they need someone to push them and empower them. And I like to do that in my own copywriting groups. Like I will give anyone advice. I'm an open book, and it like fills my bucket to help people.
Mhm.
So like combining the two is something I would have never dreamed of if I didn't start working with you.
I know. And I'm so excited because I know that this part of your business is going to thrive. But I also just want to point out, you said something right now that was really interesting. And I want to share this with you because I think it'll be really valuable for my audience. You said, I believe everyone has something valuable to say. But when we originally talked about this, you said, I don't think that I have anything valuable to say. And isn't it so interesting how we put ourselves in this box of like, I have nothing, but everyone else in the world has something good to give, but not me. Like, I'm excluded from that. Everyone except for me has this ability to do that. And I think I'm pointing it out not to like pick at you, but I think we all do it. We're like, yeah, sure, she could go and do that, but not me. I'm not capable of doing that. And I love what you've shared about starting your business, because I was very much the same. I was not a born go-getter or entrepreneur. If you asked me 10 years ago if I would be in this position right now, I probably would have literally laughed in your face and been like, I can't even work out consistently, or like, Arnold, or like, I dropped out of college 7 times. There's no way that I would ever be this person. So many people think that they have to be born a certain type of way to become someone that's able to do what you and I are doing, where we're making multiple 6 figures a year and really making an impact in the world. And I'm just so happy that you said that, because I know there are women listening right now who are like, I know that I'm made for more, but I'm not really sure that like I was born the type of person that could do that. And I'm just happy that you share that you are also not necessarily born an entrepreneur, but it's something that worked out for you because of the hard work that you put in, and you were capable of becoming someone who is able to build this successful business.
Yeah, I feel like it's so hard to like know that like you could have your own business unless someone tells you, because like I've always been like a I need to work more, I need to work more, like I want to make more money. So like I would when I was 20 and like my teens, I'd always have two jobs because like I needed to make more money. And then I tried college, did not work. I just did whatever I wanted anyways. And then I like bounced around jobs, but I always had multiple jobs because I was like, well, I have more time in my day, so I'm going to go make more money. Not like I was ever making anything to write home about. And then I went back to school when I was 25 because I was like, oh, I actually like marketing, and still never thought anything. I was like, I'm going to work in New York City. I'm going to have this glamorous job. That was like the career path I thought, because that's what you hear about. And then I went to the community college and did great. And then I applied to FIT with my 4.0 and I got denied. And I was like, I lost my mind. I was like, that's it. My life is over. I don't know what to do. How could I not get in? I tried. I really tried. And like, long story short, I fought my way in and I got accepted because I didn't take no for an answer, because I'm very persistent and I proved like my worth. And I got in and I did great. And, I got my fancy job, but it didn't feel any better. It was just like, okay, well, this is what I'm supposed to do now because this is what you're told to do.
Mm.
And until I started my own business, like I had a marketing director position in this local town that I'm in, and I made 55K. Like it was not a dream. It was what it was. It worked. It worked for life at the time. But there's so much more than that. Like you don't have to know someone. You don't have to be a certain person. You just like have to want more for yourself. And no one else can make you do that but yourself. Like you can say it, but like until you do it, you nothing's gonna happen. Nothing will change.
Yeah, your actions have to meet the desire that you have for yourself. You can keep saying you want it, but we're both very much like, you have to put in the work to do it. Like no one is going to come
Mhm.
and do the work for you. If you really want something, it's your responsibility to build it and make it happen. So I would love if we could share, if you can think of some off the top, because I know I didn't ask you to prepare for this. I know that there are a lot of coaches in my audience right now who are struggling with content and copy and feeling like they don't trust their brand voice. They're trying to copy what other people are doing because they think that's what's working. And they're lacking consistency with content, which I have been reinforcing, like shoving down your throat lately, guys, how important your content is, especially if you're wanting to build your business on social media. Are there any tips or guidance that you could give someone right now around creating copy that is going to be really valuable for their audience and maybe helping them really trust the voice that they have and the things that they have to say and really seeing value in that for themselves? Because they may be just like you, where they're like, everyone has something valuable to say except for me. What I have to say doesn't really mean anything. Is there anything that you could say to the woman who might be feeling that right now and is struggling with writing copy for her audience?
Yeah. So writing is not that hard. Everyone puts so much like pressure as if it's like this final Sharpie marker. You can't erase it. You can't change it. You can always change what you write, what you say. So, and it doesn't, it doesn't define you. Your writing does not define you. Your brand voice is one thing. Your brand voice is, if someone had to describe who you are as a brand, that's the words they would use. Like, are you energetic? Are you empathetic? Are you,
Could you
all of those.
describe me if I asked you to describe my brand voice? Could you do that, like off the top of your head?
Yeah, you are empathetic, positive, um, motivated, to the point. What else? You're like so many things. You are a tell it like it is person like me, but you just like do it a little nicer than I do. But I feel like everything that you say, I know it's you, not because of like the colors you use or like anything like that. It's because it's always, it's never about you. It's always, you can do this, like you can do that. It's never about like Jessica. It's about, you use your experiences for it, but it's always, you can do this too. Like I am no different than you. Like you're very selfless.
Thank you.
So
That's beautiful.
you're welcome. When you're thinking about your brand voice, just think about, you can even ask your friends, ask your parents, ask your clients, whoever, like, what are like 5 words that would describe me? And like in real life, not in your coaching business, because you should be the same person in every part of your life.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your fakeness will eventually shine through. So be
100%.
be
100%.
your authentic self always. So ask them those words. And if you already know it, great. Maybe you don't know how to like put that into words. So whether you find yourself better at writing or speaking, like you had said, you're a much better speaker than you are a writer. So record yourself, like talk, like, make a video and then record yourself. And you'll see how many inspiring things you write. And you're like, you'll go back and be like, oh, I sounded like that. Like, fuck yeah, I'm awesome. But like, you never would have been able to like come up with that if you sat there to try to type it.
Mm.
So using that strategy is like one way to do it. Also, start by, you can like, look at other profiles, see what other people you like, and start to really think about like what you like and don't like about those people. Like what draws you to them? And do you want to sound like that? Do you want people to feel the same way you feel when you hear these people? Or do
Mm.
you like absolutely hate it? Like if you don't like when people curse, then don't do that. If you are much more of a realist and you're like, please tell me like it is, then maybe you should be the same way. Like whatever we put out is what we get back. So think
Mhm.
about that in your copy. Like if you are this person who responds to something that's clear and concise and quick and short, then write that way and be that way and speak that way. But whatever you do, no matter what channel you use, no matter what format you're using, just always be consistent and sound the same. So someone who finds you, when they do get to your page, and because when people see your post, okay, great, they saw your post, now they saw 500 million other people's posts, so they're not going to remember what you said. But then when they see it again and they see it again, or they find it on the, what's that page called on Instagram, discover,
Explore,
search,
yeah.
whatever it is now,
Mhm.
explore, when they find you there, they don't even know what you sound like yet. So then they get to your page and then they're like, oh, look at her, like she says all of these things and they all sound like one person. Not like one day you're like so aspirational, the next day you're like, fuck this, the world sucks. Like don't do that. You
Yeah.
have to be consistent, and then people will believe you. Like that's how you build your authority, by being consistent and sounding the same and connecting with people who are like you. Like you naturally gravitate towards people who are like you. And
Mhm.
that's a good thing. Like, opposites attract and all that stuff. But when you're trying to do better for yourself, you want to be surrounded by people who think the same way as you, like have the same aspirations as you, believe in the same things as you. So be that person to your audience.
Yeah, I love that. All really good and valuable. I am constantly thinking about, and I loved that I asked you how you would define my brand voice, because I am constantly thinking about how the way that I say things will make people feel constantly, not just in my writing and in my work, but that's just the type of person I am, very empathetic, and I care a lot about how people feel. And I'm doing the best that I can to always protect that in all areas of my life. But we have to understand that people are digesting so much content. And like you said, they might not always remember what it is that you said, but the impact that you leave on them by the way that you made them feel through your content is something that they are going to carry with them. And if the way that you speak to people makes them feel good in a way that is authentic for you, they're going to want to come back. And I think for me, it's like understanding that what makes me feel good is going to be different than what makes you feel good versus what makes the next person feel good. So I get to just be so authentic to who I am and say things the way I want to say them and trust that it's going to land perfectly for my ideal client, instead of trying to show up in a way that is fake to me, but thinking it's going to please other people, because that's going to become exhausting.
Yeah, and that's not, people can read through it, like maybe not right away, but like you can start to tell like when someone's not that person. Like you
Mhm.
want to be the same, especially in the coaching business. Like you had said, like if you were one way on video and then you got on the phone and you were a completely different person, I would have been like, ew, why did I pay
Yeah.
for this? Like
Yeah.
you have to be the same person. Like as a coach, you connect with people. Like you are making a connection every single day. So connect with the people that you actually want to, and like fuck everybody else. There's millions and millions of people on the internet. They're not all meant to be yours, and that's okay.
Literally. Say it again. Like there are so many people out there. There are people that are right for you. Not everyone is going to be perfect for you. You're not going to be perfect for everyone. And that can feel like rejection and like, oh my gosh, not everybody likes me. And we're missing that validation that we crave from people. But at the end of the day, when you're a person who can validate yourself and you believe in what you're sharing, it's so easy to say like, cool, you like me, amazing. Cool, you don't like me, that's fine too.
Yeah, and that's where the mindset work comes in. Like that's where it's like, let me sit back and reflect on how I feel. Like, okay, so then if you're connecting with all the wrong people, then and they're making you feel like shit, then you start to think like maybe I need to say things a little different. Like maybe I'm not delivering the way that I think I am, and
Yeah.
try to shift it, and then see how it changes you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited because you're going to be coming into the total package in quarter 1 of this year to talk to my mastermind clients more in depth about how they can improve their copy. Because you guys, this is such an important part of being consistent with your content, but also converting the people in your audience to actually people who are not just there sitting in your audience, but really connected to you. And that's one of the biggest parts of turning a person in your audience to a paying client, is having them actually paying attention to you, like digesting your content on a regular basis because it's good. And they begin to like you and build trust with you. And then they'll become someone who eventually will buy from you if that's something that they desire to do. So I'm really excited to have you come into the mastermind. I know it's going to be so valuable. I would love to wrap this conversation up with asking you how, if you could put into words, how your life, your business, your mindset has improved since we've started working together. Can you share what that's been like for you, how you feel different as a person since we've started working together versus how you felt before you reached out to work with me privately?
Yeah, so I feel like, I would say for the first time, like these past few months, like a business owner. And I also feel like my business is just a piece of me, where before, like it took over everything. Like it was my whole life, minus my child, obviously, but it was too much. And it's so hard to get out of your own way and to like see outside of what you're doing every single day. And you're like, well, what other option do I have? This is the only way I know how to do it. But all it takes is a conversation and like really like reflecting, which is like very uncomfortable in the beginning. Like, well, I remember when you told me to go stand in the mirror and like say to like something to myself, and I was like, I am ridiculous. I sound like an idiot. But then I'm like not good in the mirror, but I started writing it down, and I was like, oh, this actually does feel good. Like to acknowledge yourself, to remember like who you are and what makes you feel good and why you started doing this in the first place. And I know you could say mindset, 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 but until you start actually working on it, it doesn't mean anything. Like you could think like I'm a positive person, like okay, great, but like that's not your mindset. Like your mindset is like what you do when you actually are stressed out, like how you react when like you had a shitty day, how you react when you had a great day. Like all the ways that you respond subconsciously is your mindset. And I never thought about mine until October of this past year. Like I would think I did, but I definitely didn't. I worked on my business, but now I feel like I'm so much more in touch with who I am and like not who I should be, but like this is who I am. And I know who I am, but like this is how I feel today and that's okay. And I'm still gonna enjoy the day and it is what it is. And like there's a new day tomorrow and that's okay. And I never used to tell myself that.
I love that. I have noticed such a difference in just the way that you hold yourself, the way that you move through things that feel difficult. And we've talked about some really hard things in your personal life that have come up, which people don't even think about. How do I navigate through the hardest shit in my personal life while I'm still running a business? And
Oh,
I
yes.
think that just like, and you and I have talked about this. I believe that you either really believe in coaching and mentorship and you see the power of just like having a conversation with someone who gets it and can be a supporting person to you. And I know that I've been that for you, where it's like we have conversations sometimes on our calls where we don't even talk about anything related to business, but it's like we're just dreaming about what you want for yourself. And I'm just holding space for you. And I understand where you're coming from and what you're feeling because I've built something similar for myself. And I think that you either value that or you don't. And I know that you really do. And I really value that too, which is why I think we're such a great match for a client and coach relationship because we both value the same things. And the conversations are so powerful. And just me being able to hold space and support you in what you're going through, because not everybody understands what it feels like to be in positions like you and I.
Yeah, that's something that like you don't ever think about and when you work for yourself, like you know that like I don't know anyone else that owns their own business like in my personal life and that's okay, like everyone's different, but then it's really hard to talk about anything hard, like whether it's business related or personal life related, like nobody gets it because they're just like, well, why can't you just take off or why can't you just do this or why don't you just stop working? Like that's not how it works. And then when something like stressful happens with a client or like literally anything, you could like I'll vent to my husband and he'll be like, I'm really sorry, I'm here for you, how can I support you? Great. But like but he doesn't know like what it was like to not get paid, to not do this, to not do that, because he has a set 9 to 5 that's like super easy. And when he leaves it. Like it's so easy. So like the support that you get from being surrounded by people like your mindset group, I'm sure is like so incredible for coaches. And if you don't fit into that, then getting a personal coach and just having someone who has your back, like it's so different. Like you have your own shit going on and like everybody has their own shit going on, but there should still be someone in your life that's able to hold space for like when you need it.
Yes, I love that. If you could give a few words of encouragement to the woman who's listening right now, who is thinking about investing and working with me, whether in a mastermind or private coaching, or maybe even just a course, but feels a little bit nervous about the investment or what it's going to feel like to work with me, would you give some words of encouragement to that person who's like thinking about it, but still afraid of taking the leap?
Yeah, I would say spending money on yourself is and something that's not tangible is one of the hardest things you can do because like you don't see it, you can't touch it, so you're like, what did I just spend all my money on? But it the more you spend on yourself and the more you invest in yourself like financially and like in all of your actions every day, the better you'll feel. Like if you are spending thousands of dollars on something, like if I am, you better like I will be there, I am doing the work because like this is important to me. So yes, it's a big investment. Or maybe it's like not, maybe it's one of your smaller courses that are much lower price, like but invest in yourself. Like you got to start somewhere. It feels so good to do it, and then once you do it and you get something from it, then you're like, oh, this is what it looks so great. Like yes, like so whether you start big or small, like just know that it's worth it. Investing in yourself, and I don't mean like shopping or vacations or anything like that. I mean like actually investing in yourself, like as a person and as your brain, like is so worth it. So the scary stuff is scary, but it's also incredible. Like the scarier it is, the better it usually is afterwards.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I also love that you brought up how investing in yourself with non-tangible things is really hard. And that's a part of being a mindset coach for me, is navigating what I'm selling, and the work that I do is not tangible. And I can tell you, you will be a happier human, but sadly, people don't, they know they want to be happy, but they don't understand how mindset work is going to make them a better person in their life or happier in their life. They just want the things that they think are going to make them happy. So tell someone, I'll help you make more money, and they're like, yeah, sure. Tell someone you'll give them a better life and make them happier. They're like, I don't think so. That doesn't really make sense. So I love that you brought that up, because it is so true. The work that I do is not always tangible in terms of you can see it from the outside looking in, but I can guarantee you will feel it from the inside out. And that's what really matters.
Right. Like, you can't be like, I'm going to make you 3 times happier in 3 months. Like, you can't do that. And like, also, it's up to the person to do the work. Otherwise, it's not going to work anyways. But you don't realize like how much you've changed until something hard happens. And then you're like, oh, I responded to that completely differently than I would have, a few months ago. And like, that's how I realized it worked. Like, the everyday change is small, but those add up to something really big, so that you're prepared, like when life just shits on you and you're like, I'm such a better person for this now. Like, I can combat anything.
Yep, because life will inevitably shit on you over and over and over again. That's just a part of life. I am so appreciative that you came on. I feel so lucky. Like, I feel like I had 2 calls with you this week. I just, you know how much I adore you, and talking with you is just one of my favorite things to do. So is there anywhere that you would like my audience to connect with you right now on social media? Do you have a website you want them to connect with? If so, you want to go ahead and share that, and we'll put it in the show notes of this episode.
Sure. I would just say, I'm an open book. So like, you can literally email me, and like, maybe you don't know what to do. Maybe you don't know how to start. Maybe you don't even know like what copywriting or content writing really means. Like, any question you want to ask me, you can email me. And you can also go to my website, bighcontent.com. It will eventually be something new, but that's in the works. So for now, I would say like, email is the best. I will not be showing my face on Instagram anytime soon, but I will write to you.
I love you so much. I can't wait for the day that you're showing your face on Instagram and we're laughing about this moment, just like you've already grown so much and changed your mind. But yeah, seriously, guys, reach out to Steph if you have questions about copywriting. She is so kind, and she will give it to you straight, which is one of my favorite things about you. So I will put your email address and your website in the show notes of this episode, so anyone who is listening can connect with you. Thank you so much for coming on. I truly appreciate you, and I'm so grateful that I get to be a mentor to you. I just think you're incredible. You're so hardworking. You're so motivated and so driven. And it's such a gift for me to be able to help you experience that fully in your life and be happier while you're building such massive success.
Thank you very much. Right back at you.
Thank you. All right, you guys, I love you so much. And we'll talk to you on the next episode of the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. See ya. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you were inspired by today's pep talk, be sure to share it with me by leaving a rating and review on iTunes so I can keep the encouragement coming your way. I hope you know that your support in helping me grow the podcast this year, it means so much to me. If we aren't already connected on social media, head over to Join Jessica XO on Instagram, or join the Join Jessica XO free Facebook community for even more content that will inspire you to show up in your life to the best of your ability. Make sure you check out the show notes of today's episode for links to freebies, upcoming opportunities to work with me, and ways that we can stay connected outside of the podcast. I love you so much, and I cannot wait to chat with you on the next episode of the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. In the meantime, go fuck this day up in the best way possible.